it without there being some type of damages. So
I just want to test this one more time here because this was not picking up any sound. And you know what I did? I unscrewed the top of this and screwed it back on. It shouldn't have done anything. That should have nothing to do with the electronics, but now it's picking up sound again. So I'm not sure.
All right.
It just started malfunctioning today. I said, oh, uh-oh.
well, there you go.
David Collins.
30 minutes.
Show with David Collins.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of David Collins' 0-Minute Half-Hour Show. I'm your host, David Collins, and we have a pretty exciting episode for you today. Really looking forward to it. We have a great guest, and I wanted to talk actually a little bit about, because next week we have another great guest that I'm really looking forward to, Tom Myers. And we're really excited. We're going to have Ray Devito back-to-back with Tom Myers, two guests that we've talked about in the past and kind of teased, and we'll be talking a little more about what we talked about in the past with Ray Devito here, I'm sure, in a few moments. You know Tom Myers.
Oh, yeah.
And I was just talking with another
Tom's
guest.
a beast.
We're going to have a guest in November who actually went to a strip club with Tom Myers, so we're excited to ask Tom Myers about that story.
All right.
He had brought up, I said, right before you, we have Tom Myers coming on the show. He said, I have a great Tom Myers story. I said, that's great. We'll have to ask you on the show. Now, we're still looking for our number 3, of course. Jerry, our old producer, stole our 3 in David Collins' 30-minute hour show and has given it to the Gas Cap Criminal. I had missed a call yesterday, and I assume that was from, and then we have a voicemail from the Gas Cap Criminal, so we're going to be hearing a little about that later in the show. This past Wednesday, we debuted, or actually did a bit of a test run. I'm starting a radio show, a morning radio show, every Wednesday at 6:30 a.m. Central Time on the Blind Mike channel starting in November, and we did a bit of a test run on David Collins' YouTube channel this week, and that went pretty well. Did you catch any of that?
No, I did not. 6:30 in the morning, that's definitely a morning
Well, it's
show.
7:30 for you. And we take call-ins. It'd be great. Maybe you can call in one of these times.
Gotta get
We're
up
really
at
looking forward to
7:30,
that.
but-
I'll put a link to the Discord, I think, in the comments there, and that's how we're taking call-ins right now, and that way some people can get an opportunity. We had a bit of an issue. The producer we had working the live chat kept posting the Discord in the chat, and YouTube kept blocking that as a link. And
Yeah,
we said,
speaking of which, I never really met Blind Mike. Seems like a good guy, but someone sent me the clip where you were saying that I was ignoring you, but we already handled this. It was going to my spam folder because
Right.
we didn't follow
And
each
if
other.
anyone wants to hear all the
on the
clips of Ray
social-
DeVito ignoring me, we have those all very well broken down and talked about on episode 40, and we'll probably talk a little about that later in the show. There's Delicious. He's just popping in here.
Delicious.
Lastly, and I didn't want to play any of this on the show here, but I did notice that friend of the show, Austin Ingalls. Are you familiar with Austin Ingalls?
The name sounds familiar.
A lot of people are familiar with him, and if you're a fan of Blind Mike Project, he has appeared on that show as well. But friend of David Collins' 30-minute hour show, Austin Ingalls, I noticed on his YouTube channel, he's been putting out some shorts. He's doing some impressions now, and I love a good impression. We're not going to play any of those on the show there, but check out Austin Ingalls' YouTube channel for some great impressions.
And something about the name Blind Mike, because there's two Blind. One of the producers.
Right, well, I actually talked with Blind Mike yesterday. It turns out he prefers Mike.
Oh, he does?
Oh,
he's talking about Gas Digital.
At least
Blind
between
Mike.
me and you, I don't know that Blind Mike.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
never
There's
met
a producer
gay Blind
at
Mike.
Gas Digital in New York City named Blind Mike. He actually helps me out with a lot of stuff. So when I always hear
Well, that's
producer
interesting.
Blind Mike, I just assume it's the same Blind Mike. But there's two
Right.
Blind Mike. Something about if you're going to be a Mike and a producer in podcasting, Blind Mike's the name to go with.
You know, there's actually a third one, too.
Of course,
We have a great show planned for you today.
Blind Mikes,
A great
three
guest.
Blind Mikes.
Some
See
great
how
games.
they produce. See how they produce.
But before we get into that, of course, everybody's favorite color of the day.
I'm for the blacks.
Today's color of the day,
Oh, it's not. I don't get to
Cleveland
choose it.
Brown. Cleveland Brown is the color of dark brown that represents the American football team, the Cleveland Browns. Incidentally, it's actually closer to a dark red color. Begging the question, why don't they just call the team the Cleveland Reds? Made up of 255 red, 51
want me to
green,
answer
and
this?
0 blue, today's color of the day, Cleveland Browns.
Do you know why they're named the Cleveland Browns? The owner of the team, or the founder of the team, was Paul Brown. So it's his last name.
I see.
And they took the colors,
That's kind of ironic.
from
From your hat.
Oh, this is Cleveland Indians.
I see.
But they took the name Cleveland Browns because of the founder, Paul Brown, but they took the colors, orange and brown, because they would practice at Bowling Green State University, where I happen to be an alumni of, and the colors there were orange and brown. So
Orange and brown.
So they took the colors of the BGSU Falcons.
Today's sponsor of the show, Max Motors in Manhattan, Kansas. And thanks so much for being a longtime sponsor of the show today.
Brought to you by Max Motors. Don't overpay on your next vehicle. Max Motors on Highway 24 in Manhattan.
Today's guest is Ray Devito, and we're going to get right into world news with David Collins. And we have some stories here. A lot of these kind of local stories or smaller stories, a couple celebrity deaths too. But when I ask a guest on the show, I like to ask them when we get into world news, what do you think about world news this week? What are you thinking about?
I'm sure you're going to tell me what I should be thinking about. I mean, my team's in the ALCS, the Cleveland Guardians now. So, I mean, I've been...
So when you think of world news, you think of sports?
I'm thinking of the World Series right now, so
well,
that's where I want to go.
Sense.
So.
Well, we had a story here about a Broadway actor. First, I'm not sure if you heard about this Broadway actor that's been missing for a few weeks now. Did you hear this? See this?
No.
It's a Broadway actor. It's been a few weeks now. As of this recording, Broadway actor, dancer, Zelig Williams is still missing. He's been missing for 3 weeks. His mother's worried. They've been filing police reports. They're looking
it's a
for him.
dude.
If you ask me, he's taking his role as missing Broadway actor a little too seriously. His father was quoted as saying he regrets misspeaking, stating, "Go get lost in the woods instead of break a leg."
There you go.
That's too bad about that Broadway actor.
Yeah.
Do you know anything about Zelig Williams?
I know nothing about any Broadway actor. All I know is the guy that dedicated his eyes. His pictures all over the subways. He was
Do you know anything about Oasis?
Jerry Orkin.
You know, you kind of look like... I've been told that if I shave everything and I shave my head, I look a lot like the lead singer of Oasis.
We could look
Has
like
anybody
the
ever
brothers.
told you that?
I got the hair.
We could go as a Oasis cover band for Halloween.
And we could fight on stage like the brothers.
Oh, do they do that?
Yes,
well,
they
they've
hate
planned,
each other.
They've announced a 2025 reunion tour.
Yeah, is it going to happen? They don't like each other.
Well, they've announced that it's going to be taking place there.
All these brother bands hate each other. Who else? The Robinsons, the Black Crows, Chris Robinson, and the other
Mamas
Robinson.
and Papas.
Were they? I don't know if they were brothers.
Well, hopefully after this tour, those
Jackson
members
5,
of Oasis are going to be able to find the way to retirement.
I'm stepping over all your jokes. I don't think I'm
Oh, it's
doing
not jokes. We're just covering the news. These are important stories. Speaking of music, One Direction member Liam
He died
this week. Did you hear about that? Are you a fan of One Direction?
If I heard a song, I could probably recognize it, but
Oh, that's interesting. I used to be a big fan of boy bands. Friends, family, and fans were reportedly devastated after hearing the news. Liam actually died in a somewhat suspicious manner, similar to Trevor Moore, by falling from an interior patio to his death. Did you hear about that? They both died from a porch in the middle of their house. I think this was actually in a commercial building. It's too bad, though. You know, in this case, the One Direction was 2 floors down.
I knew it was coming. I could see the direction of that joke you were going.
Oh, that's great. You don't even know what you did there.
Yes,
A wildcat. Did you hear about this in Chicago? Did you hear about the story? See this? Anything about the wildcat that was loose in Chicago suburbs? Did you hear this? See this? A wildcat that's native to Africa has been captured after roaming around Hoffman Estates near Chicago. The big wildcat was called a caracal. Do you know anything about those? You know, it's interesting. We did a little research. There's another story a few years ago from Detroit. A woman owned 4 of these African cats, and they had to get rid of them out of Detroit. But these people, they own these exotic animals. We had somebody on our team that wanted to make some sort of joke about African dogs, but we said we don't really try to do those types of jokes on our show. Would you ever own an exotic animal?
No, I had a dog sit for a week, and it was a pain in the...
Oh, that's not exactly an exotic animal, so you wouldn't even want to get anywhere near that.
No, and I like dogs, but I mean, when you got to worry about them peeing and pooping, it's a lot of...
Right.
So it's a lot on the mind. You got to walk them and stuff. They're very needy.
Speaking of exotic animals, did you watch that show on Netflix about the chimps?
No.
Oh, there's a new show on Netflix about owning exotic animals here. Perfect. Did you have anything? What was going on in sports?
What's the definition of an exotic animal? Just any animal you should not own?
You know, I'm not sure. It seems like they call anything from Africa an exotic animal.
Okay, so if it's from South America, it can't be exotic?
Oh, it's still American.
You think
I'm
about
not
it,
sure.
they got I think Brazilian ladies are the most exotic.
You know,
I think they're gorgeous.
I had a cousin once that was dating someone from South America, and my mom certainly called her exotic.
Yeah.
And that was World News with David Collins.
And me. I was here for it.
Today's guest is a comedian and podcaster from Cleveland, Ohio. He's performed all over this great country of ours for over 20 years now, visiting great venues like the Funny Bone in Columbus, River Trail Brewing in Marietta, the Stand in the Comedy Village in New York City, the Laughing Stock in Hershey, Tracy's Park in Parksburg, and tonight in Dubuque, Iowa at the Jesters Lounge, and many, many more. He also has a podcast called Rock Bottom Podcast. He doesn't only have his own show, though. He's also appeared on other great shows like the Bonfire Podcast, the Bob and Tom Show, the Rap Podcast, Misery Loves Company, Who Are These Broadcasts, In Hot Water, and Sit Down Zumach, just to name a few. Our great guest today has also seen himself on a television many times, appearing on E! Entertainment Tonight, Lifetime, and Comedy Central. Please make some noise for our great guest today, Ray Devito.
Things making some noise. I hear it.
All right, let me put that in over the top, and then everybody hears it too. But I just want you to hear the sound effects also, because we have a little bit of soundboard here.
Those people inside that iPad are very excited I'm here.
So we've interacted before on the internet, and that was so funny about our whole incident, because of course we kind of went after you on our show, David Collins' 30-minute half-hour show, episode 40. People would be able to, because I was asking myself, I said, why is this man pretending like we don't know each other? We've interacted plenty of times before. What could he be hiding? So that was kind of the premise of our show there, but we've interacted before, first in January of this year on Who Are the Podcasts.
Yes, yeah, good times.
And we've also interacted online many times, and in between then and now I have your phone number, and we talk pretty
daily,
pretty
I tell
reasonably.
you.
And I even appeared on your show this week, which was interesting. Unfortunately, you're not able to find that episode, which I find fascinating.
Well, it's behind a paywall.
Why do you do that? And how do you decide which shows, what about me, deserves behind a paywall?
Well,
and I would have loved to share that with some of my audience and some of my fans. I was actually looking to pull some clips from that show.
Well, that's why I gave you the unlisted version. Cut it up. Do what you want with it.
Oh,
have fun.
As of this morning, it was listed.
Yeah, it's on, so you can access it. People, yeah, you can access it.
It says I need to be a member of the show.
Yeah, no, it's on my members only thing, but I put it for you. I unlisted so you could have access to it.
And I lost access this morning.
No, it's back to unlisted.
Okay, so you do a little back and forth there. That's interesting.
Is this part of the show? Are we doing the show?
Well, I'm asking you about this.
Oh, okay. Oh, so this is a show. I don't know.
We also record David Collins' 30-minute half-hour reality show.
All right.
And that's some of what's going to be happening tonight,
it's
too.
It's like Larry Sanders. It's a show within the show.
Tonight. And I want to ask you about your stand-up comedy here. Actually, I noticed you're friends with friends of the show, Elvis Ali of the Socks and Undies fan tour.
I probably, I don't know the name off the top of my head, but I'm not great with names.
Would you have any red cards that you want to hand out this week? Because we have a great segment on our show, David Collins' 30-minute half-hour show, where we like to hand out David Collins red cards.
Is that a soccer reference? Like,
you could call it a soccer reference there. My first red card today goes out to people that don't use their turn signal. And we actually had to replace this on my red cards here because I was just walking here. I was standing in an intersection waiting to cross, and I had to wait for 3 cars that were supposed to go in front of me. None of them signaled. They just kept driving by me. I could have crossed at any other time. Made me feel like a real jerk.
That bastard.
And that's why anybody who doesn't use their signal in their car gets a red card this week.
Do you do red card like they do in European Soccer League? Like how they do it real quick and then they write it down?
Well, we're primarily in audio format, so we do it like this.
You got to do it with them. Stern.
That way everybody can hear the show there.
All right.
A second red card goes out to venues that sell damaged cans.
What a bunch of jerks.
Now, it's one thing if you get it at a gas station or something, or a liquor store, you say, whoops, I bought one that's damaged, that's on me. But if you go to a bar or a comedy venue and they give you a damaged can, you say, I can't accept this, and they say, that's what you got, I think they deserve a red card this week. Right. And our last red card today goes out to offenders of stolen valor.
They're the worst, dude.
And they are the worst. You know, and not just the military, of course. People who claim to be police officers, or even some people claim to have been arrested by police officers. Any version of stolen valor gets a red card this week. Do you have any red cards you want to hand out this week? Do you think you fall under any of those? We usually don't ask that, actually. But it's curious.
I usually use my turn signal. I'm pretty good about that. I mean, I live in Astoria.
Well, you have to ask ourselves, is Matt
a
perpetrator of stolen valor? But I trust him. He's served his country.
Just at grocery stores.
Just at
tend to be a bagger.
Oh.
You know,
And that was David Collins' Red Cards, of course. What did we going to ask you? About your stand-up comedy, of course. How long have you been doing stand-up comedy?
Oh, long time, man. Long time.
We said over 20 years before. Where did you start stand-up comedy?
I started in Cleveland, Ohio.
Cleveland, Ohio. And you're still doing comedy in Cleveland, Ohio. You know, we thought it was so funny. I was looking at the Jesters Lounge here, and what they said about you, and they described you as a New York comedian who's really been shaking up Manhattan recently. Is that accurate?
I've been shaking up Manhattan. I just was. Yeah, I'm in New York all the time. I was just there for 3 straight weeks. I had shows every night. Only 2 nights I didn't have shows. I went to Yankee playoff games. I was there Tuesday.
And we want to hear more about your stand-up comedy, of course, but that sound means it is time for our first game. I'm not sure if anybody will let you know, we do play games on this show, and we like to cater them to the guest. For instance, our first game today is made just for you. We thought you're a sports fan, of course. And for a sports fan, we have a game called Name the Former Name of the Sports Team. Not only that, though, we're going to ask you to tell us what year that is and spell the former sports team.
That's going to be a lot.
So it's a little trickier there. But we're
me.
going to say, where are you ready to play Name That Former Sports Team?
All right, it's going to be embarrassing for me. I don't feel like I'm
I
going
miss
to do
Jerry
well.
because Jerry used to come up with these clever names for the game, and I look at this and I say, is this really all we could come up with?
Sounds like this Jerry was a hell of a guy.
He was pretty good. He's ruining the show these days, but it's been okay. Why don't we
I'd give
jump
him
into
a red
round
card
one here?
For that.
Round
I'd smash
one
a can and make him buy it.
of Name That Former Sports Team. The Carolina Hurricanes. What was that previous team? Spell it. And what year was that?
Is that a hockey team?
It was a hockey team. That's great. Carolina Hurricanes. What were they before the Carolina Hurricanes?
I would have no idea. I don't know hockey. I definitely don't.
Is that
know
right?
Hockey. Yeah.
What's your favorite sport? Not hockey.
Yeah, not hockey.
We have ran out of time there. Matt, do you have an answer? What do you think that is?
I believe it's the Whalers.
Right. It is the
W-
Hartford
Hartford
Whalers.
I would have guessed Hartford.
Spelled W-H-A-L-E-R-S. Can't forget that H. And it changed in 1997 to the Carolina Hurricanes. Well, that's okay. It's just one round there. Why don't we jump into round two? I think you'll do better on this. You know, for instance, if we asked you the Cleveland Guardians.
That's the Cleveland Indians. I'm wearing the hat.
Right, and that would be a pretty easy one. So why don't we jump into round
And
two
people
here?
give me grief for Chief Wahoo, who tells that, don't worry, it's 97 World Series. We lost it. So if it makes you feel better, we lost.
To the Marlins.
To the Marlins,
Now,
out of all
speaking
teams.
in 97, that was the year that they switched from the Hartford Whalers. Why don't we look at round two here? Round two, Washington Nationals. What were the Washington Nationals before they were the Washington Nationals?
I'll tell you right now, Montreal Expos.
The Montreal Expos. Can you spell that and tell me what year that was?
EXPOS. I wouldn't know, 99-ish, 2000, somewhere around there.
Well, depending really where that ish lands you, it was 2005.
Okay.
2005. We had
Yeah.
the name of the team, right? That's why we thought we had to make it a little difficult here and give you the year. Do you think if I asked you that later today, that you'd remember it's 2005?
I don't. Today, if you ask me.
Right.
I'll probably remember it
I probably
now.
say this ad nauseum. I feel like I say it all the time. If you had asked me earlier, I would have been able to think of it. I just can't think of it right now.
Well, yeah, I wouldn't have guessed 2005. I probably still would have went with like 2001-ish.
Right.
Something like
With
that.
6 guesses, though, you might have gotten there.
Yeah.
Why don't we look at round 3? The Oklahoma City Thunder. The Oklahoma
Seattle
City Thunder.
Supersonics.
The Seattle Supersonics. Can you spell that and tell me what year that was?
Supersonic. That was a JJ Fad song. They were a women's rap group in the 80s. Supersonic. S-U-P-E-R. Sonics. S-O-N-I-C-S.
Well, it is one word, but we'll give it to you there. What was that year?
I would guess because Kevin Durant played a year with them. So
Well, that's good. It sounds like you have a
would
good lot of
say
memorization techniques. Do you use that in your stand-up comedy?
2004, maybe? Somewhere in that arena?
It was not. The Seattle Supersonics changed to the Oklahoma City Thunder in 2008.
All right. I remember Kevin Durant played a year with them, so I assume.
I see.
All right. That makes sense.
Before the Heat.
No, he never played for the Heat. He went to Golden State. Can we make a thing when you get it wrong? Make that noise.
I think there's a bit of an elephant in the room here, and it's not, maybe it's just for me, but I'm very curious. Could you just, in your own words, describe your relationship to the internet? Because I understand you are a stand-up comedian.
I am
But I
a
appeared on
stand-up
your show, your podcast, and I appeared on your show, and I'm saying, you know, Ray, the audience, you have 100-something people watching you, and they seem to be after you for something. So maybe in your own words, what exactly is going on there? How did this all
don't
start?
know.
How long have you had that following?
I used to be part of a network. Here's the deal. Some people would call it a lot of them are good-hearted. They're just have a hard time expressing their funniness. And
it wasn't very funny. It was a little racial, I'd say, but there was some.
That's not supposed to be there. I'm supposed to have moderators. I got to get on Leo Gunn for that. I'm supposed to have moderators.
Well, maybe the moderators said, well, that fits as a joke. We're not going to delete it.
Maybe my moderators don't have a sense of humor. But, yeah, I guess I got to go back and if it's and look at that type of stuff and then turn off the live chat.
So that's why it goes behind a paywall.
Have to.
It's for your own benefit.
Yeah, kind of, yeah.
Why are you such a target?
Why am I such a target?
And even when we asked, because we were going to have you on the show, episode 40 of David Collins' 30-minute hour show. We were looking forward to having Ray DeVito as a guest on the show, and he kept explaining, I've never heard of this David Collins. We haven't worked together in any case in the last 5 months. But anyway, we had you on the show, and we said, why are you avoiding me? And we played some... What did we even play there? I think we just showed a map of something, and we had this story about a car accident, and allegedly maybe it happened, maybe it didn't. But who would even be going after? Who even is starting this saying, I don't even think that car crash was real? How do you garner that audience?
That's not my audience. That's people just looking to hate you to hate you. But
so these aren't people showing up to your stand-up comedy show?
No.
Do you think we'll see any of them in the audience tonight?
I unfortunately been in 2 pretty devastating car accidents, so yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that's unfortunate. I've never actually been in a devastating car accident, but my father last year was in a devastating plane accident. We've talked a little about that on the show. Do you think any of these people that show up in your live chat are going to be showing up to the show today?
I have no idea.
We're really looking forward to it. You must not do a lot of shows here in the Midwest, in the deep Midwest here near Iowa.
I used to do it all the times, man. You know what? I like this room, Jesters Lounge. I just saw it. It reminds me of a comedy club that used to be in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, which is really good, called Nitwits. Nitwits Comedy Club. At one time it was the Funny Bone, and then they changed its name to Nitwits. It was great. It was kind of a low ceiling, just like this, nice setup. All the tables close together, like that wooden smell. So I like it.
The smell of wood.
Yeah, smell of wood.
That's interesting. I had a rumor here, and we took note of this. Somebody did a little research on the team there. Did you used to work in finance? That's interesting. Somebody told me you have an MBA. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Because I have a bachelor's in news and sports media.
Yes, I do have an MBA. You want it?
That's interesting. Could you just give it away like that? Can I get an honorary Ray DeVito MBA?
Sure.
That was finance lucrative.
It's lucrative. Cleveland State Vikings, baby.
Is that what you worked for?
No, that's where I went to school. That's where I got my MBA.
Oh, I see. Did you use that finance degree?
Yeah. I was,
Do you ever go on stage and say, oh, I counted all your heads because I used to be an accountant?
No. I used to work the Excel spreadsheets and
like that fan.
Access. I know my way around a financial calculator. Wouldn't have any idea what I'm doing with any of that stuff anymore. No idea. The net present value of this or that. No idea anymore.
Not only finance, not only a broadcaster and a stand-up comedian. I've also heard you're a musician. Is that correct?
No. I did a rap song once as a joke for Comedy Central.
Oh.
Yeah. It was
really?
for Adam TV. Yeah.
We used to have guests on the show all the time. They said, oh, I'm a musician. I actually started doing comedy music. And that was their entrance into stand-up comedy.
But I used to go to... Before karaoke was a big deal, before like American Idol, I would go to...
Before American Idol, so this was the 80s.
No, it's 2000, early 2000.
Pre-9/11.
Yeah, pre-9/11.
Oh, that's a better marker.
Right about 9/11-ish. I would go to, or before American Idol became like a big thing and everyone in America thought they could sing and karaoke nights became a big deal. But I would go to karaoke nights and I'd put my name in.
Right.
And I would just...
Like an open mic, you sign up.
And I'd do like 5 minutes of jokes instead of singing a song.
Oh, I'm sure everybody appreciated that. They said, we're here for music. I did that at a mixed open mic.
Once
they said they're listening to music, and I said, everybody stop your side chatter. I'm going to tell some jokes for a little bit.
It would, whatever. Maybe I just got lucky and went to like the...
That's interesting. Andrew Dice Clay used to go to bars and say, I'll give the bartender $50 and say, I'm going to go on your stage and do stand-up comedy. If I'm not funny, you can keep the $50. And that's how he got started doing stage time in the first place, too. Andrew Dice Clay. Can you name Andrew Dice Clay's real name?
If you said it, I'd know it, but
right. I can't really recall it either. I think he's Jewish.
Yeah, he's Jewish.
Tell me about your chin. No, I only asked because I
Down my
heard you
face?
mention it in so much of your stand-up comedy, and I think we might hear some of it tonight.
I have a cleft chin.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
You know, and I don't want to offend
It's not
Luke
one of
Persson.
my
Of
albums.
course, when you had Carl Hamburger on the show, I asked him about his leg, and these are things people are interested in.
Oh, no, I just have a butt chin. Tough to shave around.
Is that what they call those? I've heard of butt chins. I thought they were weights. I thought they were associated with large, heavy people. I didn't think you were born with a butt chin.
No, I was born with a butt chin.
I see. My next question isn't about anything to do with those car accidents.
Huh?
Anyway, you know, we got a lot of emails and voicemails here. We had teased one of these earlier, so we're going to jump into our next segment here.
What are you doing?
I'm emailing David Collins.
And that sound means it's time for David Collins call-ins and emails. And we didn't get too many voicemails this week. I think we're going to save a couple of those for the Tom Myers episode coming up, which is always fun. And even when I was on your show, I was saying to Ray's audience, I was saying, email me, dc30minutehallhour@gmail.com, and I could bring some of those questions to Ray. Unfortunately, we didn't get really any of them. I really anticipated that was going to get the emails blowing up there, but we didn't get too many. The first thing that we need to touch base on is a voicemail that I teased earlier from the Gas Cap Criminal. Jerry the Gas Cap Criminal, we talked about this already, but why don't we take a quick listen here?
Hey there, this is a voicemail for David Collins. I would rather have talked with you, David. If you want your 3 back, you better start answering your phone. We have moved it, this week, to a new location. Your 3 has been moved southeast from before, to another national intersection. Near Texas State Highway 77 and Louisiana Highway 1 lies a new colorful sign erected as of 2023. Special thanks to the Magnolia Clubhouse. Good luck.
Alright, well that was cryptic. I guess next time I should probably answer the phone.
Yeah, it sounded like an AI voice. You sure that was a real voice?
I'm sure it's a real voice. Well, I'm actually getting suspicious there.
Yeah, it sounded
I
AI.
think if it was AI, it'd be able to pronounce Louisiana. Some people can't pronounce Louisiana, but a computer could, so I'm not really sure. But it could. He's the Gas Cap Criminal. He's trying to be evasive. And that makes sense. It's south of where
What's
it
he
was
doing?
before.
Stealing gas caps?
He used to steal my gas cap.
Oh,
Most
he would
recently-
steal just yours.
Most recently, he stole the 3 from David Collins 30.
I'll tell you what, if the guy's going to steal something, a gas cap isn't the worst thing to, like, you know what I mean? It's not going to hinder you too much. I've lost.
It was a big problem. It was a big problem. But we did get another email on the show there. If anybody's able to solve that riddle, make sure you email me, dc30minutehallhour@gmail.com. I'd love to get that 3 back.
If someone's going to steal your phone or your gas cap, I'd rather them steal my gas cap.
Well, the
Well,
phone
what
was
do
in
you
my
say?
pocket. The gas cap was, of course, unprotected.
Well, sometimes, my phone's not in my pocket. It's over here.
Mine's right here. It's very safe.
You know what's odd? My gas cap is in my pocket. So that's...
Wow.
You always keep it on you.
You know, we usually prefer people don't do the material on the show. We got one email here from Matt O'Daniels. David,
Why start being funny now, right?
fantastic episode with Doug Townsend. More important, props to your propaganda shout-out in the episode. Are you familiar with Doug Townsend? He's a car salesman out of Louisiana. Speaking of Louisiana, propaganda shout-out in the episode. In my opinion, a wildly underrated band that has withstood the test of time. But perhaps the biggest propaganda is Iowa State being 6-0 at the time of this email. Best of luck to all your search for your lost 3. Sincerely, Matt O'Daniels from Clover, South Carolina. P.S. If you hear back from Jerry, remind him that Jesus saves and Gretzky scores. Well, thanks so much for that email, Matt O'Daniels. We get some great emails on that show, and that was nice to hear from our fan in South Carolina.
What was that? Was stolen? Is he talking about your 3 gas caps?
No.
He said, I hope you get your 3 back. We were
Right,
just talking about all the gas caps.
The gas
that got
cap
stolen.
stole the 3 from David Collins' 30-minute half-hour show.
Oh,
It's been a big
all right.
issue from us there.
How
What do you think about that? Are you familiar with the band Propaganda? We talked about it last on the show, but it's very interesting. We even got a comment from somebody, and we're not going to go over this in that, but we did get a comment from somebody who does a Propaganda podcast, and he said, oh, I heard the mention. That was very funny. It is bigger, and I guess our audience likes it, but not all the comedians that we run into. Although I recently was talking with Andy Malafarina and his co-host, friend of the show, Andy Malafarina, and they were both fans of Propaganda. Maybe not politically, but they like the music.
I see what you did there.
We got some other messages here from actually Twitter this time, which was interesting, but I thought we'd include them in the emails here because they were somewhat pertaining to Ray. His first one here was from, and I think this was more directed at me because it was immediately after I got off your show. I'll just say this, maybe we'll bleep it, I'm not really sure. From somebody named Decline Host, just wrote, "Fuck you, you stink."
I think that's for both of us.
Oh, is that? Well, that makes me feel a little better then. And I did accept that message. If you'd like to reach out, I'm happy to have a dialogue.
Decline Host is a good guy. He's actually a good guy. It's his,
He makes a tough first impression.
Yeah!
That's okay.
A little rough on the edges there.
And we received a
How many? But he has
here.
not stole any of your gas caps. So you
Now
gotta
this
take
is interesting. A lot of people have told me.
best.
A lot of people have told me that I look like this next person that we had a message from on Twitter. Have you ever heard that? I think Hack Ride originally told me this. He says, "You kind of look like this Dr. Chow guy." I said, "Does he have a show?" He said, "Not exactly." I said, "Okay, well, I'm not really sure." But this Dr. Chow gentleman did message the show here, and he had said, "Yo, dude, can you give me an idea of how much Ray is getting paid for his Dubuque show?" And he spells Dubuque wrong.
That's no one's business.
Off the record, of course, trying to do an expense analysis. Won't mention I got it from you. Well, Dr. Chow, the cat's out of the bag now. If it would be clear that it was coming from me, I suppose, at this point. But I didn't know. Maybe we would just ask you directly on the show.
Yeah,
Would you like to help Dr. Chow with his expense analysis?
Yes, that's no one's. How much you get paid is no one's. I would never discuss my financial situation. Like it's no one's business.
Right. But you do have a financial situation.
What?
You do have a financial situation.
Yeah, but that also wouldn't be fair to the club. Like,
Oh, well, not the club, no, but it's
but
just
the
good.
club doesn't want
People
to
at
know.
home want to know
I'm
that
paying
you.
someone this much and someone else this. Like that's.
No, that's a good sign. He's keeping it to himself. He's holding his card short there. That's got to be a good thing. Hello.
It smells like sex in here.
And candy.
That's because Ray
Marcy's Playground song.
That's because Ray hasn't showered yet.
I have not showered.
What do you know about this Dr. Chow gentleman?
I don't know much about him. I know.
I was going to let you finish there, but that sound does mean it's time for our last and second game today. And our second game today, again, we really, I don't know who's, I'm going to have to follow up with somebody here. Our names are terrible. I don't even know. This game is a game where we're going to read off the letters for a stock of a company, and you're going to have to determine out of the 4 options which string of letters is the actual abbreviation for that stock. I don't have a good example here. This game was really just slapped together, it seems like. I'm going to have to talk with somebody.
Right.
I miss Jerry. Why don't we jump into round 1 here? I think it will
I
make
miss
sense
Jerry.
here.
Sounds good.
We're gonna
kidding.
give you some.
You're killing it.
We're gonna give you 4 abbreviations.
We have a
One of
natural
them-
back and forth, you and I.
Right. Well, I did your show for an hour and a half the other day, and boy, did time fly. Round 1. Is it AAPL, APPE, APLE, or APPL? Which is the correct abbreviation for a well-known stock? You're in finance.
I'm not in finance. I have no clue. APPL, because that's the last one I heard.
You were so close there, and that's actually a bit of a trick there. That was Apple's stock, of course.
Ah!
AAPL. So you're pretty close there. And APPL actually makes a lot more sense than what it actually is. Because that includes the letters of Apple. There's no 2 A's in Apple. Why don't we look at round 2 here? Do you like this game?
Yes.
Perfect. Now, if I were to compare this to the first game, which one do you think would be your favorite? Why don't we jump into round 2 here, and then you'll get a better judge. Round 2 of Name That Stock. That's a better name for it. It's fine. We'll workshop this one, I think. Maybe we'll try this again next week, Ray. This is a good rehearsal.
Yeah.
And you can come on and
You got to save your A game for Tom Myers.
Well, that's kind of-
he's the man.
You could say
I'm
that.
definitely just the practice.
You could say that's exactly what's happening today. Round 2. Is it WLT, DNY, DSN, or DIS? Which is the correct abbreviation? for this
DIS.
stock?
It's Disney.
Oh, that's great that you're able to get one of these rounds right. That's perfect. Round 2 was Walt Disney Company, or Corporation. I'm not sure what the CO stands for. DIS. That's a bit tricky there, because it could have been WLT. Who really knows? But it was DIS, now we all do. Why don't we jump into round 3 here? Round 3. Name that stock. TSAL, TELA, TSLA, TSSA.
TSLA. It's Tesla.
Are you sure? Do you want to lock that answer in? TSAL, TELA, TSLA,
How
TSSA.
about the TSLA?
And that's exactly
Wow,
right.
I was
That
not expecting to get any of these right.
Tesla, TSLA. Well, you're working finance.
Yeah.
That's perfect. And that's all it is. We go through the show there. We ask you some questions. We play some games. David Collins, 30-minute hour show. Did you have a good time on the show?
Yes, man, I enjoyed it.
Now, would you like to promote our radio show coming October 30th? I think we're gonna revamp that the day before Halloween, and then just go from there.
Yeah, a little drive time, David Collins. It's 6:30 to 8
Central time.
Central time, yeah. So it was just a little live cast
East
between
Coast.
DC and I and a third rotating comic.
Right. That's exactly right. Ray Devito, did you have a good time on the show today? Do you have anything
Yes,
you want
I
to say
did,
to our
man.
audience?
No. So, hit like, hit subscribe. David Collins.
We try not to push those things, but maybe follow Ray Devito on all his social medias there. That's perfect. Boy, what a great episode. Everybody listening, I've been David Collins, and you've been the best.
David Collins.
30 minutes. Show with David Collins.